The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Hulk Hogan is here! Hulk Hogan's here! Hulk Hogan is in the building! You're damn right he is! Go get him, Hulkster! Yeah, but whose side is he on? What are you talking about? Whose side is he on? What are you talking about? Yes, sir! Get him, Hogan! Go get him, baby! Come on and get some of this now. Who's bad now, boys? Hulk Hogan arrived. Hulk. What is he doing? Oh, my God. Is he the third man? He's the third man. What the hell is going on here? Hulk Hogan has betrayed WCW. He is the third man. Look at this picture. Oh, my God. What the hell is going on? Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Probably the lowest shot ever given to professional wrestling. That man did right there, Hulk Hogan. Let's get everybody out of the dressing room right now and kick his rear end. Unbelievable, brother. You just sold your soul to the devil. These years? Huh? What have I been saying all these years? Oh my God. A career of a lifetime. It's right down the drain, kid. I hope you love it. Can you just sold your soul to the devil. See those little Hulksters with the tears rolling down their face right now? We are not going to even acknowledge that 3 count. Now what happens to us? What happens now to WCW? There was no 3 count. I never thought I would say that he's yellow, but he may be wearing red, but he's wearing red and yellow. What do we do now? I'll tell you what. This is a unbelievable situation right here at Bash at the Beach. Hulkamania, the third guy with the outsiders, betrayed WCW. Can't talk.
Excuse me. What in the world are you thinking?
Mean Gene, the first thing you need to do is to tell these people to shut up if you want to hear what I gotta say.
I have been with you for so many years. For you to join up with the likes of these 2 men absolutely makes me sick to my stomach. And I think that these people here and a lot of other people around the world have had just about enough of this man, and you want to put yourself in this group? You've got to be kidding me.
Well, the first thing you got to realize, brother, is this right here is the future of wrestling. You can call this the new world order of wrestling, brother. These 2 men right here came from a great big organization up north, and everybody was wondering who the third man was. Well, who knows more about that organization than me, brother?
I've been there, I've done that. You have made the wrong decision, in my opinion.
Well, let me tell you something. I made that organization a monster. I made people rich up there. I made the people that ran that organization rich up there, brother. And when it all came to pass, the name Hulk Hogan, the man Hulk Hogan, got bigger than the whole organization, brother.
Earnestly podcast coming to you July 9th, 2021. It is nWo week here. Not just on the podcast, but everywhere. We'll end the show with the nWo theme you just heard there. Like I said, this week is, this past Wednesday was actually the 25-year anniversary of when the nWo was officially formed. If you're a wrestling fan, obviously you know the impact and how much this means to the business. The business changed again. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do the podcast on Wednesday because I was actually attending a wrestling show, which I'll get to in a second. But the nWo storyline is it's so fascinating. It still resonates 25 years later. It's the biggest heel turn in the history of professional wrestling. Hulk Hogan, once being the red and yellow All-American, white meat babyface, all of a sudden, he's in WCW, and then he turns heel. You have obviously the build-up with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, who had literally just left the WWF, and Vince McMahon, literally the day before, 2 days before, appearing and building up for a month in about 5 weeks, leading up to the reveal of the third man. As you saw, that was a promo of Hulk Hogan and, of course, the Outsiders, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, at Bash at the Beach, July 7th, 1996. I was 16 years old at the time that was. So I actually did, I think I did watch it real time. I did watch it, the Bash at the Beach, where I was. But I couldn't afford pay-per-views. So back in the day, if you watch cable TV, and kids, by the way, you should appreciate what you have now. Back in the day, if you want to watch pay-per-view sometimes and you couldn't afford it, those cable channels, like on channel 80 something or channel 90 something, you can probably watch it but it's really squiggly screens. That's how I watched it. And I never thought that Hulk Hogan would do this. I never thought they would pull the trigger on Hulk Hogan being the heel. Now, again, back in the day, 16 years old, even into my early 20s, until I started watching in 2002, I never followed dirt sheets. I never followed, the peek behind the curtain. I always suspended reality when it came to wrestling. I never, tried to, say, well, this storyline will work and this and that. I looked at it as reality, even though at 16 I knew it wasn't real at that point. But I was really good at suspending reality. That's why I was able to enjoy wrestling then. And to be honest with you, I enjoy it now because I know how to adapt. Adapt or die, they say. But I remember this night when Hogan turned. And I was so stunned. I was so stunned about this. It took me a full day for it to really hit me. It didn't hit me that he was a heel until the very next night on Nitro, Monday Night Nitro. And from this point on, when you saw Hogan in Hall and Nash come to the ring again on Nitro, you see Hogan's like shaved mustache, all wearing all black. It was stunning to me because I've said this in this podcast before. People obviously know who in my wrestling love and all that. Everything for me in wrestling began and ended with Hulk Hogan. I was the biggest Hogan, fan on the planet. I used to label myself a Hulk Hogan disciple. It was Hogan and it was Savage, but at the time it was always Hogan first. Now today's obviously Savage now. I love Savage all time. As I've gotten to appreciate the business as I got older and whatnot. Savage is my favorite all time. But everything was about Hulk Hogan for me. So when Hogan turned heel, I'm thinking, well, this is shocking. I believed in everything he said. Say your prayers, eat vitamins, believe in yourself, those stuff. And now we got a guy who's literally cheating, literally doing things, heel things. And at the time, of course, remember, you suspend reality. So you don't look at this acting. Look at this, okay, well, this guy is a bad guy now. This thing really impacted me. And yet, even on Nitro, I made a decision, you know what? He's a bad guy, but guess what? I'm going to follow Hogan. I'm going to see where this goes. So I stayed a Hogan fan. I still root for him, even in nWo. Even in Hollywood Hogan, I still root for him. One of the most underrated things, we've been talking about a lot of things. There's a lot of wrestling podcasts through the last couple of weeks about promos and this and that, and just, legacies and whatnot. One of the things that made this storyline even great was the patience it took, the writing, the patience of the storyline, letting it breathe, whatnot. And to me, Scott Hall set the tone for his entire storyline. His first appearance on WCW television after leaving the WWF as Razor Ramon. And to me, that promo that promo that he did as the first guy to reveal set the tone. And it's why that build to Hogan being the third guy was perfection. Remember, Scott Hall was doing this promo 5 weeks prior, or 6 weeks prior, to Hogan being the third guy. We didn't know Kevin Nash was coming. We had no idea until he wouldn't reveal himself until I think a week or two later. And even then, there was still this little build up with the third guy. We were speculating who the third guy could be. Could it be Savage? Could it be Lex Luger? Could it be Sting? You know, I was actually on the Three Count Thursday podcast last night as a guest. Shout out to Big Jim and the boys. And I was on the show largely for this topic because we brought up this topic about the nWo and the anniversary. And we were discussing, who could it have been? What was your mindset back then? Who could have been the third guy? And I always said Sting was probably the guy that had the most effect. But to me, the impact of that promo Scott Hall did to kick this whole thing off was classic. So much, I gotta play it here. Here it is.
Mauler completely maul his opponent, Steve Dahl.
Well, Steve Dahl was trying to get an offensive going.
Wait a minute.
But
what the hell is going on here?
But he just got reversed right there. The Mauler runs him down. What are you talking about?
Look here.
Well, what the hell?
Wait a minute.
Somebody give me a mic. What's with this?
Wait, we need security here. I have no idea.
Hey.
Wait a minute. I can't believe it. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
You people,
What's with him?
you know who I am. But you don't know why I'm here.
Are we going to get security here?
Where is billionaire Ted? Where is the Nacho Man? That punk can't even get in the building. Me, I go wherever I want, whenever I want.
Listen, we need to get somebody to talk.
And where, oh where, is Scheme Gene? 'Cause I got a scoop for you. When that Ken doll look-alike, when that weatherman wannabe comes out here later tonight, I got a challenge for him, for billionaire Ted, for the Nacho Man, and for anybody else in WCW. Hey, you want to go to war? You want a war? You're going to get one.
Impact. Scott Hall. Impact. By the way, one of the best parts of the whole promo, he picks on Macho Man twice. He calls him the Nacho Man. The Nacho Man, you know what I'm saying? Right there, And then Mean Gene Okerlund, call him Scheme Gene. But yeah, we were discussing promos. I don't know what show it was. I can't remember if it was a show I was on or listening to about top promos all time. That promo there at Scott Hall is arguably a top 10 promo all time, because that promo set the stage for what the next 2 years would be. This changed wrestling. This is the angle that nearly put Vince out of business. Now, we look back in hindsight, obviously WCW, look, we all know that Vince didn't really beat WWE, but he gets to write the story because he's the winner. We know WCW failed because of internal stuff, because of bloated contracts, bad creative, you name it. But between 1996 and early 1998, WCW was the number one show in town. And it started with the nWo. It started with Hogan changing. And again, for his legacy, it did a lot for his legacy. And I said this on the 3 Count pod last night. You say what you want about Hulk Hogan. And God knows I have opinions about Hulk Hogan today, especially Terry Bollea. And I make no bones about that. But you have to be a complete moron if you don't know wrestling, especially if you know wrestling, you cannot do a Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling, of the greatest, whatever acts in history of professional wrestling. Hulk Hogan has to be on a Mount Rushmore. And I'll say it again. The reason why he gets that is because he changed the industry. He changed the industry not once, but twice. He did it with Vince in the 80s with Hulkamania. Because again, without Hulkamania, you don't get WrestleMania. WrestleMania and Hulkamania goes hand in hand. WrestleMania and the business boom in the golden era was mainly because of Hulk Hogan. Because Hulk Hogan was the first really true mainstream star. Now we can say, Bruno Sammartino had some success out some degree, and obviously Andre the Giant was, but they did not have the charm of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was the guy that pushed professional wrestling to the mainstream in a way that was in your face. And then wrestling starts to go down less interest between 1990, 91 into 1995, 96, especially with the steroid trial with Vince, whatnot. And Hogan goes to WCW. He changes heel. We talk about Austin 316 being a game changer, and it was a game changer. It was. But Austin 316 did not catch on immediately. It took a while to cook. The minute Hogan turned heel, everything changed. It put Vince on notice. It is why Hogan is arguably the greatest of all time. Because there is no guy you can really think of that changed this business twice. Hulkamania and the nWo. Also, last time on the pod, we were discussing about who could have been the third guy. I was saying again, the only guy that would have made sense, but it would have only really impacted the WCW dynamic, was Sting. Sting was huge, obviously. He was the guy, and he certainly would have definitely shocked the WCW audience. But Sting didn't have the mainstream success. And I'm not talking about wrestling. I'm talking about like pop culture in the same way Hulk Hogan did. Hulk Hogan turning heel in 1996 with the nWo changed everything. The way people looked at wrestling. It brought in more eyeballs. The Monday Night Wars, while it kind of did start in 95, when Nitro became a thing, it really launched the minute the nWo was formed. And Hulk Hogan is the guy that really is the big piece that triggered that. Which is why you could never say what you want to Triple A, racist asshole, we get all that, but you have this history. Hulk Hogan changed his business twice. So put some respect on his name and discussion. And again, there was no one that comes close. We were discussing last night on the Thursday podcast. The only person, and by the way, one of the guys on the panel, Tim, said, and it made sense, the only other heel turn that had somewhat impact, certainly not as close as Hogan, because given the star power, was Andre the Giant turning on Hogan, which, strange enough, Hogan is impacted on that too. In 1987, that led up to WrestleMania 3 match. But, man, the nWo, look, I was a fan of nWo out the gate, and for the first year, to me, once they went to the Wolfpack and they bloated the rosters and they had the two factions, I was out. But the nWo from 1996, from July 1996, to, I would say, honestly, to me, where things really started to become a problem for me was when Hogan lost to Sting in December 97. Things started to go haywire, in my opinion, with creative as a result. But those, 83 weeks, that 2 years, year and a half, 2 years, how long want to say? Those 2 years were impactful. It changed the business. It put Vince on notice. No one has ever put Vince on notice, except the WCW for those couple of years. And Hulk Hogan, of course, was the biggest piece of the puzzle. It couldn't work with anybody else. It couldn't work with Sting. As great as Sting is, and as popular he is in the pro wrestling parlance, he doesn't have the mainstream appeal that Hulk Hogan had, because Hulk Hogan was in movies, dude. Hulk Hogan was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, period. Forget pro wrestling. We're talking about Hollywood. Before The Rock did it, it was Hogan. Before Austin, it was Hogan. you know? So, but the NWO 25 years later, I mean, I look back at that as like some really good times too, because I've had three different tiers or three different times in my life, my 41 years of living, of pro wrestling, where I got into wrestling and didn't watch wrestling, whatnot. So I had the first tier in the Hulkamania era where I got into it for the first time in 87, stayed with it pretty much until 1991, maybe 92 a little bit, but I checked out. Even though I watched between 92 and 96, I didn't watch consistently as much. I knew what was going on with the big storylines, but I didn't really do anything much with that. That was the first one. Then the second wave was when, the NWO. Once Hall and Nash bolted to WCW and the stir guy thing started picking up and we realized Hogan, that that changed everything for me, honestly. And then of course, that ran through the late 90s into the Attitude Era and all that. And then of course, this now when I'm watching now today, present day, 17 years later after stopping in 2002. But NWO, man, it's classic. It's classic. It's the best. It's awesome. It's if you go look at Peacock and look at the documentaries, there's everything. Go on YouTube. This thing is NWO faction. This NWO storyline is before it went to shit. Anyway, the first 2 years was incredible, and that build was incredible. So, I was saying something about attending a show. AEW Dynamite is back on the road for the first time since COVID. In 15 months, and my wife, myself, my co-host Mike on the Take 3 Wrestling podcast, and his wife Carol, we all went to the show on Wednesday. I had a fantastic time. First wrestling show for myself personally in 22 years. The last wrestling show I attended actually was, I just remembered, it was Armageddon, WWF Armageddon in December of 1999, that took place in Fort Lauderdale, where the Florida Panthers play. And, dude, I had a fantastic time. It was a great show. The crowd was amped. I mean, we can go into details a little bit what's going on. I mean, Aleister Black, formerly Aleister Black, now Malachi Black, made his surprise appearance that night. The crowd went fucking hype for Hangman Page. By the way, MJF might be the best heel in all pro wrestling. Maybe Roman Reigns, obviously, is still number one because Roman Reigns, given who Roman Reigns is. But MJF really plays the heel role better than anybody I've seen in many years, because he really is a douchebag, and he plays it up to a T. He had my wife triggered. And my wife does not even watch wrestling normally, but she was cussing his ass out for where she was sitting at. It was great. But it's funny, you get your money's worth too, because really what you're getting is two shows in one, because you get AEW Dark for the first hour at 7 to 8, 7 to 7, quarter to 8, minutes to 8. Then you get the main show, Dynamite, from 8 to 10. And then you get the rest of Dark for another hour on the back end of the show from 10 to 11. It was a fantastic night. I had a great time. The food wasn't really great, but the vibe was fantastic. A little bit of traffic coming home a little bit, but I had a great time. Yeah. Had fun. And again, for me too, especially because of not really going out much anymore, being a parent and, having to take care of duties here at home, and obviously last year and a half with COVID, you can't really go anywhere anyway. So it was good to get out of the house, do something different. It was the first thing I've ever attended with a lot of people like this, outside of work, of course. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed it. What else on the talk before I get out of here? The Phoenix Suns lead the NBA Finals 2-0. I'm watching the series, obviously, but I don't feel as invested, mainly because I did a podcast for Game 2. And then Game 1 was kind of in and out, honestly, with family stuff, whatnot. But, I'm still going to hold. I had Bucks in 7. I'm still going to stay to that for now, but Phoenix obviously is doing a fantastic job. Giannis is showing a lot of heart, obviously, Attentive Kuampo. Let's see what happens Game 3, because Game 3 changed everything. A series never really is figured out until a road team wins. If Phoenix wins Game 3, or even Game 4, take a 3-0, 3-1 lead after leaving Milwaukee, yeah, the series is over. But Milwaukee can come and bounce back and win the next 2 games. they're back home. And again, we know how the dynamics of a home court changes everything. So I'm still going to stick my Bucks in 7, but I'm slowly starting to diminish that. Yeah, Phoenix. The thing with Phoenix, I think, was impressive is that they know who they are. And yeah, they got in breaks, but you know what? They got in breaks for the entire playoffs. You know, AD, Anthony Davis misses most of the series in the first round. Jamal Murray didn't play the second round for the Nuggets, and then you have, of course, Kawhi Leonard missed the entire series against the Clippers. So Phoenix gotten breaks. I get that, but you know what? In 10 years, let's assume Phoenix wins the series. In 10 years, nobody's going to care about the context. No one's going to care, and that's why. We can say that in the moment because obviously we know in the moment now that the context matters. But in 10 years, if Phoenix wins the title, no one's going to care. All we know is that Chris Paul will get his first ring. I don't know who I'm rooting for. Last episode I was saying I don't know who I root for. I was kind of rooting for Milwaukee, I guess more so. But this is Chris Paul's probably only chance to win a title. He's 36, 37 years old. Certain teams that weren't healthy this year or down the stretch are going to be healthier next year probably. Lakers, Nets, you name it, Clippers. So this is Chris. It feels like finally for Chris Paul, all the breaks are coming down for him now. He deserves it. Chris Paul, as I said in the last podcast, he's top. Even without a ring, he's probably a top 5 point guard of all time. So that's just that. So Game 3 is on Sunday. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, Phoenix is in the driver's seat, man. All right, before I go, I want to talk about a couple minutes about my appreciation I have for one person in media. Marcellus Wiley. Marcellus Wiley used to be a NFL player for the Buffalo Bills, a couple other teams, the Chargers, defensive end. He's been doing media for actually about over 10 years now, probably a little longer than that. But he's also the host, one of the co-hosts for the show Speak For Yourself, a show that was actually started by Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. But then Marcellus came in when Colin Cowherd left, and he was Whitlock's sidekick for about 2 years before him and now Whitlock left last year. Then Emmanuel Acho is now taking Whitlock's place. I love that show. Number one, two black guys doing the thing. Two black guys bring common sense. Marcellus Wiley is, to some might be polarizing. I don't think it's polarizing at all. I think Marcellus Wiley, to be honest with you, is someone I admire because he's someone that has now brought common sense to the forefront of media. He's not. People say, "Oh, well, now he's sold out now because he's spewing some right wing rhetoric," and I think that's bullshit. I think that's wrong. I think Marcellus Wiley, if you look through all the noise and get out your partisan goggles, is a guy who doesn't play victim culture and is a guy that is comfortable who he is and what he's saying. Do I agree with everything he says? No, I don't. But I love his perspective. He's not sitting there in a partisan seat and he's spewing out these, right wing or even left wing angles and arguments. He's just giving common sense based on what's given to him. And it's good to see that. It's good to see not just, him, but also a black man doing it, and not feeling that he has to just, okay, well, because most blacks, vote Democrat or this and that, I have to go that route. No, in fact, he's already said he's not even a Democrat. He said he, from what I saw last year, he actually supported Andrew Yang, for president last year, based on what he was saying last year, leading up to the Democratic. He was never a Trump supporter. He never went out and said, "I love Donald Trump." He never said that. That never happened. Ever. He's someone that's refreshing though for me because while I don't agree with everything he says, I like people who are just honest with who they are without having to worry about partisan politics. Just bring common sense to the forefront. And that's why I appreciate him. That's why, I support his work now, especially even more now because, and someone who also like myself, believe in the family dynamic. So, shout out to Marcellus Wiley for doing a great job and really just bring common sense to the forefront and just being someone that's, trying just to cut through all the noise and just being a person of substance. Whether or not you agree or disagree with his arguments. So, anyway, that's it for now. Next podcast, we'll see what's up. I'm on Twitter, eachperson7. We'll lead you out with the theme song nWo since it is nWo week. Have 25 years. Love you guys. Earnestly Media on all the podcasts, social medias. Earnestly.net. Or I guess that's it, really. All right, guys. Talk to you later. I love you guys. Take care. See ya.